And during the World Cup in South Africa, I can remember when World Have Your Say was there for BBC World News and BBC World Service Radio. So many South Africans told me they were furious with the way the Western media was covering the build-up to the tournament and even the tournament itself. Now we're hearing some echoes of that in the Commonwealth Games. Let's pull up one more email. Chanki's in Delhi says all the facilities in Delhi's villages are world-class. The main venue, Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, is one of the biggest and most modern stadiums in the world. The Games will be the most secure that Delhi has ever had, so please come to Delhi. Don't accept the negative reviews. We are ready to give you our warmest hospitality. Let's bring in Lisa, who's on the phone from Brisbane. Lisa, do you think that people have been too quick to judge these games? They haven't even given them a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that they've been quick to point the finger at India. And nobody seems to be questioning how the Commonwealth Games Federation have allowed this to happen. You know, are there not any checks or deadlines that are put into place to ensure the hosts are on target with the game preparations and the building work?
Well, Lisa, clearly there have been checks. Maybe the Commonwealth Games didn't have the might to insist the Indians changed how they were preparing.
It could be true. I've been reading on the internet that they don't have the might like the Olympic Committee do, but how has it got to this stage? You know, 2 weeks before the Games begin, suddenly we're questioning whether or not they're going to even be held.
Well, it was interesting. Lisa, thanks for speaking to us from Brisbane. A couple of days ago on BBC World Service Radio, we discussed whether these games should go ahead. That debate seems to have gone away. It's more a debate about who's to blame for the problems there have been. Now, in a moment, we're going to go back to Delhi because we've got a massive shooting star joining us from there. But first of all, let's bring in Phil Magodi. He's chairperson of the Soweto Football Association, knows a thing or two about putting on the World Cup. Thanks for joining us, Phil. Do you think Delhi should have done better? Has it let down the developing world?
They have to be and do the best of ability, and they must understand that if you are choosing to perform a task, you must do this 100% because this is a global event. And if you look at the history of the Commonwealth Games, it talks the background, the imbalances. It talks about the poverty. It talks about human trafficking, and it talks about working together within the countries. So they have to go there and get advices if they can do better, because it's a challenge now when I understand now they want to blame the media. It's a duty of media to expose and also to guide them, to keep them on toes. But if BBC is not going to engage the world about what's happening in Delhi, then we're going to have problems like you did concerning South Africa World Cup. The World Cup became the best because of the media. You have the watchdog making sure that each and every even a small thing has been addressed. I mean, my understanding is that India is not a sport world, but now at least a decision has been taken to take this game to New Delhi. Then they have to perform. There's no excuse in this world.
OK, so that's interesting. You're saying the media's job is to keep these kind of events on their toes. Owen's quietly nodding while you say that. Let's bring in Mansha Singh, who's with us live from Delhi. He's a shooter who already has 2 gold medals from the Commonwealth Games in his pocket. He's going to be competing in Delhi as well. Mansha, do you think that India has let the developing world down? You had a chance to shine, to show the world what you can do. Some people are suggesting you haven't taken that chance.
Well, it so seems like at this point of time, because we're so close to the games, and this is a time when you have a lot of excitement and a lot of fervor, people looking forward to the opening ceremonies, and the whole city is, full of that excitement, anticipating this great event. That has sort of been diluted, and we feel a little let down by that. And we know that it's a bit of a fault of some of the people in the organizing committee and people who run the games that have let us down. But I think, in effect, once the games start, the athletes will take over, and that's what actually the games are all about.
And you may have seen David Eads a little earlier on BBC World News confirming that we think all of the teams are now planning to go. So there's going to be no shortage of people competing in these Commonwealth Games. By the way, if you're watching wherever you are in the world, you can call us up now. It's country code 44 20 70 83 72 72. The World Have Your Say team will do their best to get your call on the air before the end of the show. Let's go from Mansha and Delhi to Manuela, who joins us live from Panama City. Manuela, what's your view of what's happening in Delhi?
Good afternoon. Yes, I figured that it's quite something that they're not ready on time with building the whole stadium and the hotels for the players, and it's a big mess. It's a big disorganization they have. They're not very thorough in their work. They didn't start on time. They had a lot of time to work on it, and has been a big problem.
I think we ought to say perhaps that the venues, from what we understand, are all finished and all looking good. I mean, it's particularly the issue with the Athletes' Village, which is obviously a massive issue that has been of concern to the competing countries. And I'm going to agree with what Phil was saying about the media's need and right to
But it's easy for you to focus on the weightlifting arena's ceiling rather than all of the other venues, which are absolutely brilliant.
But that was only in the context of all that had gone before. I mean, in isolation, a few panels coming down in the weightlifting arena wouldn't have been a story, but the fact it came on top of a bridge collapsing and the village patently not being ready means that it all becomes part of the narrative. And I think it's interesting with the South African analogy. They had a person in Danny Jordan, who was the chief executive of the organising committee, who really drove this through and kind of he kept saying it was the media that were keeping us on our toes, even though some of the public, as you say, felt that some of the criticism was unfair. Yeah. He pointedly said, this is the thing that we need, and perhaps there wasn't that scrutiny for the Commonwealth Games in Delhi, partly because it was the Commonwealth Games and not a World Cup or an Olympics, I wonder.
Manuela, thank you very much indeed for raising those points from Panama. Let's go back to Harit in Mumbai, because Harit, Manuela talked about the amount of time that Delhi has had, but lots of people are emailing the BBC from India saying, this is just how we do things. We leave things to the last moment, but it will be all right on the night.
Yeah, exactly. Because, if you try to show pictures of wash basins and bathtubs 9 days before people are supposed to go in there, yes, there's going to be paint around, but by the time people are going to inhabit those places, they're going to be ready, I'm sure. We got the stadiums ready, and this is not the first time we're holding anything of this magnitude. We held the Asian Games in 1982. They went away absolutely fine. We've been holding cricket tournaments which handle millions of spectators, and managing millions of spectators is not easy, the logistics of that. Mm-hmm. And we've always managed them accident-free. So I don't see a reason why 3 bathrooms or 30 bathrooms, if they're dirty, 9 days before the players are to arrive, are an issue.
So that's interesting. You're pushing away the criticism of the way that Indians work. But Phil Magodi from the Soweto Football Association, again, going back to World Have Your Say's time in South Africa, lots of South Africans said South Africa had changed how it worked to deliver the World Cup. Do you think that was true?
Yeah, come again?
Do you think that South Africans changed how they worked to deliver the World Cup?
Oh, obviously, people must understand that the FIFA, the world have helped South Africa a lot to make sure. I mean, you look at the Britain, you look at USA, they did help a lot to make our World Cup one of the best and one of the never happened in the world to hold such a World Cup and successful World Cup. And obviously, going to Delhi is that, as I said, that you can't wait for 3 days or 4 days or 9 days. I'm shocked if they've not addressed the issues that are obvious of security, issue of the stadium, the issue of the people coming, the issue of the airport, the issue because a lot of people will be going to that because of the history of India. People want to see India, the athlete. You see how many countries are playing the Commonwealth game. So it's important where we stand that I hope for now everybody must put his hands where it's supposed to be and make sure that they deliver the best Commonwealth game.
Well, that's certainly, Phil Magodi, that's certainly the intention. Official after official in Delhi are saying they're doing everything they can to be ready. And as for issues with security, issues with the airports, I think we probably have to wait to see how the games play out before we can pass judgment on that. Phil Magodi, chairperson of the Soweto Football Association, many thanks for your time from Johannesburg. We're going to go from South Africa to Scotland now because we're joined by Amy. She's Amy Clark. She's a hockey player with the Scottish team. She's live with us from Aberdeen. Hi, Amy. Good to have you on the programme.